Welcome to Philosophy of Action. Today I want to talk about capability or adult capable individuals. People do not become capable because their life is comfortable. They become capable because life gives them a problem, a distressor, a threat, a weakness, a hunger, a fear, an ailment, and they're forced to overcome this. That distressor can be physical, it can be psychological, it can be social. But the basic mechanism is always the same. A human being is confronted with something painful, something difficult, something they cannot simply wish away. And if they overcome it, they become better at overcoming that kind of thing in the future. That is how people develop as people. People who survive famine become good at gathering and gaining food, not just because the weak died and the strong survived. Through history, that is often part of it, but because they learned. The survivors learned to produce food, store food, ration food, value food, and defend it, and organize life around the fact that it's not simply magical. Soldiers are the same. A man who has been a soldier for 20 years is generally better than someone who's never been a soldier. Experience matters, and experience is only gained by surviving the actual threat or problem. But let's be honest, a soldier who spent 20 years in uniform but never fought is not necessarily better than a soldier who spent 10 years fighting every day, because time alone does not make the soldier. Again, pressure-tested experience is what matters here. Training prepares the man. Real suffering tests him. Overcoming that suffering forms him. So when I say suffering makes the man or woman, I do not mean suffering in some stupid and romantic way. I do not mean pain is automatically good. Pain can break people. Pain can make people bitter, weak, resentful, paranoid, addicted, useless, or dead. The key word is not suffering. The key word is overcoming. Suffering that is not overcome is just damage. Suffering that is overcome becomes competence, becomes strength, and becomes depth. It becomes seriousness. It becomes the part of you that knows reality is real because you've already had to fight it once. And this also works in reverse. If people become capable by overcoming meaningful hardship, then people become less capable when they have less meaningful hardship to overcome. That is the part modern society does not want to hear, because modern society thinks its job is to make life as comfortable as possible. Remove pain, remove damage, remove judgment, remove shame, remove duty and risk. And you remove every sharp edge. Everything's safe, everything's padded, therapeutic, inclusive, emotionally validating, and bureaucratically managed. And then you act surprised when people become more fragile. But why would they not be fragile? They were trained to be fragile. Human beings are trained by the problems their lives force them to solve. If your life forces you to solve hunger, you become serious about food. If your life forces you to solve danger, you become serious about strength. If your life forces you to solve poverty, you become serious about money, work, storage, family, and survival. But if your life forces you to solve social awkwardness, mild discomfort, wrong words, tiny emotional injuries, online status games, and anxiety of being slightly unhappy, then that is what you become good at. You become an expert in minor sufferings. And then minor suffering starts to feel major. That is modern weakness. Modern society does not remove suffering. It miniaturizes it and teaches people to treat miniature suffering like survival suffering. A rude comment becomes trauma. Discomfort becomes oppression. Awkwardness becomes violence. Failure becomes injustice. And being judged becomes harm. Not getting what you want is therefore some kind of social crisis. And people are not becoming stronger by overcoming these things. They're becoming more specialized in avoiding them or in addressing only these minor issues. They are not learning to endure reality as it is. They are learning to negotiate with it like a spoiled child negotiating bedtime. This is why comfort can become a civilizational poison. Not because wealth is bad or safety is bad, but because a society that uses wealth to remove every meaningful hardship removes the very pressures that create capable, complete human beings. And then you get the Ouroboros. A strong society creates comfort. Comfort creates weak people. Weak people become incapable of maintaining a strong society. So the society slowly eats the human type that makes it possible. That is the modern problem. We are not just producing people who are physically weak. We are producing people who are less competent. Not lesser in moral worth per se, but less developed, less formed, less tested, and less serious in crises. Less capable of sacrifice and less capable of duty. In other words, they have become less capable of bearing discomfort. And worse, many of them are not even happy. Because modern comfort does not create deep happiness. It often creates anxious, bored, overstimulated, underdeveloped people who have just enough comfort to avoid growth and just enough discomfort to feel wounded. Therefore, we're all stuck. That is the worst combination to form someone. Not strong suffering that forms you to become a strong individual, overcome it, and not real peace that fulfills you. So not real pleasure that actually makes you enjoy your big comforts and benefits in this newly industrialized society. But soft, meaningless, neurotic suffering that makes you weaker as a person. A society full of people like that may be rich, it may be safe, it may be polite. But it does not go anywhere. It stagnates in perpetuity. It becomes sterile, boring. It becomes a society where people who consume what harder people build while slowly losing the ability to build anything themselves. And when a real shock comes, war, famine, energy collapse, demographic collapse, and state failure, or anything real, these people will discover that reality does not care about their comfort. Reality does not care that you were anxious, felt unfair, that you felt unsafe, that you were never prepared, that you didn't really have the capacity to do these things. So what you need is not cruelty, it's not abuse, it's not a random suffering for the sake of suffering. What is needed is structured hardship. Because you either have the capacity or you do not. And reality does not care one way or the other. What is therefore needed is a serious society must deliberately form serious people. That means young people especially need to be forced through real demands. Physical training, discipline, responsibility, service, hard education, useful work, survival skills, duty to the community, maybe mandatory military service, civil service, or maybe apprenticeships, maybe something else. The form can differ, the objective cannot. The objective is to produce well-rounded, pressured, but formed adults, actual adults, not oversized children with rights language and anxiety disorders, not consumers with opinions, but not fragile personalities floating through comfort, but grown men and women who can endure, build, protect, sacrifice, provide, raise children, face danger, and keep civilization alive. Because comfort alone does not make a civilization. Comfort consumes what hardship creates. And if we remove every meaningful hardship from human life, we should not be surprised when we eventually remove the kind of human being able to be and capable of maintaining civilization itself, and it then collapses in on us. Anyway, have a good day.